There is a switch inside your mind that no one ever told you about. Not in school, not in your home, not in your jog training, but it exists. And when you find it, when you flip it, you don't just become smarter, you become formidable. I'm not talking about X scores or how fast you can solve a math problem. I'm talking about the kind of intelligence that rewires how you walk into a room, how you read people, how you make decisions so precise, so swift, so unshakably grounded that others start to feel it before they can define it. This is the switch that separates the reactive from the strategic, the distracted from the dangerous. It's the shift from existing on autopilot to moving through life with locked-in purpose, unshakable clarity, and mental dominance. You see, your mind was never broken. It was never dull or late. It was buried, drowned beneath distractions, numbed by overstimulation, conditioned to survive instead of command. But when you stop letting the world career attention like a puppet on strings, when you shut down the noise, silence the digital chaos, and reclaim control of your attention, something happens. You begin to see patterns where others see confusion. You begin to act while others hesitate. You begin to think at a level that scares people because it's so rare. This switch is not a gimmick. It is the return to your original design. Razor-sharp awareness, ruthless focus, strategic calm. And once it's flipped, there is no going back. Because the moment you remember who you really are beneath the fog and distraction, you stop playing small. You stop explaining. You stop waiting for permission. You start moving like a force, a presence. A mind that cannot be manipulated, a soul that cannot be bought, and a focus that cannot be broken. That is the brain hack. That is the power. And once you taste it, just once, you'll never be content living below your potential again. You think you're tired, but you're not. The truth is you're overstimulated, and it's killing your mind's ability to think clearly, focus deeply, and create powerfully. Your brain was never designed to process this much noise, this many notifications, this much scrolling, this endless flood of opinions, updates, and mental junk food. You wake up and the first thing you do is swipe. Before your feet even hit the ground, your nervous system is hijacked. You're already behind, already comparing, already consuming, and you wonder why you feel foggy, anxious, unmotivated. It's not weakness, it's overload. The truth is, your brilliance hasn't disappeared. It's buried beneath a mountain of distractions you've mistaken for entertainment, relevance, or commitment. But here's the hack. When you remove the unnecessary stimulation, when you reclaim your mind from the endless loop of passive consumption, what it returns is clarity. Real clarity, razor-edged focus. Suddenly, your brain starts to work again, not in survival mode, but in strategic dominant. Thoughts become sharper. Decisions get easier. You start to feel power in your chest because you're no longer leaking energy chasing every little leap and buzz and headline. And the scariest part, once you taste that quiet, that mental stillness, that keen mental bandwidth, you'll see just how much you've been functioning at 40% without realizing it. You'll see how long you've been tricked into trading genius for distraction. For nos, you're not tired, you're full of other people's opinions, full of use data, full of junk stimulation that's robbed you of your most dangerous weapon. Beat directive thoughts. Remove the noise, and what remains is dangerous. What remains is the real you. Every decision you make, every distraction you chase, every goal you abandon halfway through, there's one chemical behind it all: dopamine. This tiny neurotransmitter is the puppet master of your motivation, your cravings, your focus, your discipline. It's what drives the addict back to the bottle, the gambler back to the table, but it's also what drives the elite to keep rising, keep building, keep winning. And here's the brutal truth. Most people are being used by their dopamine. They're slaves to it. But every scroll, every click, every mindless snack and lazy dopamine hit is stealing your edge. Because every time you reward your brain for doing nothing, every time you chase easy pleasure, you weaken your mental muscle for doing hard things. But the moment you flip the script, when you train your brain to crave the struggle, to link dopamine to deep focus, to accomplishment, to long-term wins, that's when you take the leash off your potential. That's when discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts tasting like power. You begin to crave silence, you crave structure, you crave challenge, because you've rewired your brain to associate success with the right kinds of dopamine spikes, earned spikes, not stolen ones. This is the edge few will ever understand. Dopamine discipline is the key to mental sovereignty, and through you're either owned by your cravings or you own them. There is no in-between. And once you learn to master that chemical, to hold the line against every cheap hit the world throws you, you don't just become focused, you become unstoppable. Because now your mind is no longer a battlefield. It's a weapon locked in, loaded and aimed at destiny. We live in an age that glorifies multitasking, doing 5 things at once, replying while thinking, scrolling while eating, living distracted and calling it productive. But the truth is, multitasking is the enemy of mastery. Your brain wasn't designed to divide its attention. It was designed to lock in, to tunnel deep, to engage fully with a single mission until it's complete. The most dangerous people in any field aren't the ones moving fastest. They are the ones moving with precision, with depth, with singular focus. That's what monotasking gives you. You stop skimming life and start cutting through it like a blade through smoke. Every time you try to do 2 things at once, you dilute your power. But when you devote every ounce of your mental energy to one clear objective, something shifts. Your thinking sharpens, your work quality elevates. You begin to finish what others only start, and that ability to finish, to go deep, to stay locked in while everyone else is distracted, isn't just rare, it's threatening. It makes your weapon in a world of wandering minds. So here's the truth. If you want to stand out, rise up and dominate in any arena, don't do more, do less, but do it with total concentration. One thought, one task, one mission at a time. Monotasking isn't outdated. It's the new mental warfare. In the mind that masters it doesn't compete with the crowd, it rises far above it. Your mind is not a storage unit, it's a generator, a creative engine designed to build, solve, invent, and dominate. But it can't do any of that when it's overloaded with input. Most people spend their entire day consuming headlines, opinions, reels, podcasts, tweets, texts, noise. They're drowning in other people's voices and wondering why they can't hear their own. But here's the brain hack you leak understand. Input starvation creates output explosion. When you go silent, when you stop absorbing and start thinking, your mind comes alive. Ideas surface. Strategy flows. Decisions clarify, but it only happens in the absence of clutter. You can't think like a genius when your brain is jammed with low-quality information. You have to create space, deliberate, ruthless space for original thought. This is why the most powerful thinkers in the world spend hours in silence, deep work, or complete isolation. They're not hiding, they're loading, they've starved their input so their own ideas can stretch, sharpen, and speak. The less you consume, the more you create. The less you absorb, the more you execute. So if you want to explode your productivity, your intelligence, your power, don't add more content. Cut it off. Go dark. Go deep. And watch what happens when your brain stops reacting and starts creating. That's not quiet. That's danger. That's the sound of a mind waking. Your brain doesn't operate in a straight line. It works in cycles, rhythms, bursts of power. And the most potent one is the 90-minute focus window, a natural peak of cognitive energy where you can achieve more than most people do in an entire day if you know how to protect it. This isn't some productivity hack. This is biology. Your brain enters a state of deep concentration roughly every 90 to 120 minutes, a neurological sweet spot where your memory sharpens, your decision-making tightens, and your ability to solve complex problems reaches geared performance. But here's the catch. Most people never access it with interruptions, notifications, caffeine crashes, and constant task switching. They're working but not focused. They're moving but not creating. The elite, the ones building empires, launching companies, writing legacies, they weaponize this 90-minute window like a sacred ritual. No distractions, no split attention, no apologies, just pure, locked in intensity. And when you start those sessions daily, consistently, ruthlessly, you don't just become productive, you become vulnerable, because now you're working in alignment with your mind's most powerful state. You're building in flow, creating in silence, executing with clarity. Protect one 90-minute window a day, and your entire life begins to shift. Protect 3, and the world won't be able to keep up with you. It is the performance edge no one's talking about, not because it's complicated, but because it demands discipline. And discipline in a distracted world is the rarest and most dangerous form of intelligence there is. You want a high-performing mind, then stop fueling it like a civilian. Your brain is not some mystical cloud floating above your head. It's flesh and blood, a biological machine, and if you treat it like an afterthought, it will betray you when you need it most. The elite understand this. Your mental dominance starts with physical discipline. Hydration sharpens cognition. Movement floods the brain with oxygen. Keen fats feed the neurons. Sleep locks in memory. Sunlight triggers hormones that regulate mood and drive. You think you need more motivation, but what you really need is better fuel. The mind doesn't run on willpower alone. It runs on chemistry, and chemistry comes from how you treat your body. Most people poison their thinking with processed garbage, energy drinks, sugar crashes, and sedentary habits. Then wonder why they can't focus, why they can't create, why they don't feel like themselves. But when you feed the mind like a warrior, when every bite, every step, every breath is part of your mental training, you don't just think sharper, you move sharper, you react faster, you stay calmer, you become more dangerous without even raising your voice. This is the edge hidden in plain sight. While others are numbing themselves and calling it normal, you're building a machine green-focused, unbreakable. Because the civilian mind can be manipulated, but a warrior mind, fueled right, trained right, locked in tight, is not just harder to stop, it's impossible to match. In a world addicted to noise, validation, and constant connection, the person who chooses solitude is not lonely, they're loading. Because the truth is, depth doesn't happen in crowds, strategy doesn't form in chaos, wisdom doesn't grow in group chats. The most intelligent, Yifu, clear-thinking people who ever need or have one trait in common, they disappear extinct, while the masses drown in conversation, distraction, and performative busyness. The loner steps back, not out of weakness, but out of strength, meaningful. Because real power comes from reflection, from seeing the bigger picture, from studying the board while everyone else plays checkers. Solitude is where your thoughts stop echoing the world and start sounding like you. It's where vision sharpens, where self-respect grows, where decisions become yours and not everyone else's. This is not about isolation, it's about intention. Strategic solitude isn't hiding. It's building mental armor while the world burns through theirs. And here's the secret. Every major leap in your life, every breakthrough, every awakening, every level started with a season of silence. So don't through the quiet, don't rush to fill it. Rush to fill it. Use it. Build in it. Let it forge the kind of mind that no longer needs to be seen to be sure or heard to be certain. Because once you become comfortable walking alone, you'll notice something powerful. You're not behind your head. And by the time the world catches up, you'll already be somewhere they can't follow. The battlefield isn't out there. It starts in your mind. The strongest minds don't wait for life to hit them. They prepare for it in advance. This is the power of mental rehearsal, the hidden weapon used by elite athletes, top performers, and strategic thinkers across every field. They visualize everything before it happens. They see the room before they walk into it. They feel the pressure before it arrives. They face the challenge in their imagination until it becomes routine, until nothing surprises them because they've already been there. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined scenario and reality. It wires for both. So if you rehearse strength, calm, precision, clarity, your nervous system starts believing it's your default setting. This is not fantasy. This is neural conditioning. The broke mind waits to be overwhelmed. The trained mind steps in like it's done it 100 times. Because it has. This is how you build composure under pressure. This is how you walk into negotiations already knowing the outcome. This is how you stay calm when others panic. You practiced it. You rehearsed it. You trained for it. The world calls it poise, presence, charisma. But you know the truth. It's preparation at the mental level long before the physical moment arrives. You can live on reaction, or you can live on readiness. One makes you predictable, the other makes you unstoppable. This brain hack you've been hearing about, it's not a quick fix or a gimmick. It's a return to the mental state you were born to own, but lost somewhere in the noise, the distractions, the cheap dopamine hits, and the endless chasing of external approval. The brain hack is the journey from being a passive consumer of life to becoming its command. When you flip this switch, you don't just get smarter, you become dangerous. Dangerous not in the sense of chaos, but in the sense of power, clarity, and unshakable presence. You move through the world with razor focus, relentless discipline, and strategic calm that leaves others off balance. You no longer react, you create. You no longer wait, you lead. This intelligence is not vanity, it's survival. Not arrogance, it's sovereign. Once you flip this switch, you will never settle for less than your highest self, because you will see what's possible and the world will see a new force rising. You will no longer be available to distractions, to manipulation, or to anything that dilutes your power. You become the stone that changes everything, a mind so sharp, so locked in, so dangerous that the universe can't help but make space for you. This is your awakening. This is the rise of the intelligent savage, and once you claim it, nothing will ever be the same again.